Good to go.
All right, ready to go. All right, so it's Wednesday, January 15th, 2025 at 6:30 PM. Having quorum, I'll call go to item one, call the Bridgewater Planning Board to order. And this meeting is being held remotely in accordance with the provisions of the open meeting law pursuant to the governor's approval of a supplemental budget bill. Temporary provisions pertaining to the open meeting law have been extended to March 31st, 2025. Specifically, this further extension allows public bodies to continue holding meetings remotely without a quorum of the public body physically present at a meeting location and to provide adequate and alternative access to remote meetings. The language of this extension does not make any substantive changes to the open meeting law other than extending the expiration date of the temporary provisions regarding remote meetings from March 31st, 2023 to March 31st, 2025. Members of the public are encouraged to participate remotely and shall address the questions through the chair of the board. The following members are participating remotely this evening. I'm Patrick Driscoll, the chair, Mr. Michael McDonald, the vice chair, Mr. Stephen Geller. Is Mr. Haley with us this evening?
Not at this time yet.
And then we have Ms. Rojas and Mr. Haley not with us this evening, but we do have an alternate that will be participating this evening, Ms. MJ Spagon. During this meeting, all votes will be roll call. The following Bridgewater Town staff are also participating remotely. Mr. Robert Rulli, the Community and Economic Development Director, Mr. Shane O'Brien, the Town Planner, Mr. Greg Tansey, the Town Engineer, Mr. Stephen Solari, the Building Commissioner. At this time, everyone's mics are muted. The board's mics are unmuted through the whole meeting. As items appear on the agenda, the project's representatives' mics will be unmuted. If this is a public hearing and allows for public comment, we ask that you use the chat feature to ask your question by listing your name, your address, and your question. We'll also recognize questions in order. If you'd like to speak, you can use the raise my hand feature in the participant menu and you'll be unmuted when the chair, along with Mr. O'Brien, who's the host, recognizes you. Again, please state your name and address before asking a question. If you're on the phone, you can dial *9 to raise your hand. So we do have a public hearing this evening. The way it'll work is we'll open it up to the applicant first. We'll have them present. Update us on the project. We'll go to board questions and interact with staff. And then we'll open up for public comment. That'll be item 3 on the agenda. But going to item 2 on the agenda, we have an approval not required plan. This is 0 Hillside Drive, map 64, lots 42 and 84. I believe I have a copy of it here. I think SEA is the applicant for, looks like Latola. So, Mr. Silver, you speaking on behalf of the applicant?
Rebecca will take this part.
Okay. Sorry, Mr. Baptiste.
It's all good. Here we go. Oh, I didn't pick this up. If I can just share my screen. Thank you. Share the correct screen, which is this one. All right. We have a plan of land in front of us.
Yeah, we can see it.
Perfect. Okay. So what we have here is we have a plan of land to a small parcel on the end of Hillside Lane and what would be considered a landlocked parcel in the back. So we're going to take what is 6442 and 6484, combine them and split them so that we can come before a board in the future and decide how to develop the parcels. That's the short story.
And I saw that parcel A did not have not a buildable lot until that got changed today. That's correct?
That's correct. It's not buildable at this time.
Mr. O'Brien, did we get all the signatures from all the owners involved?
That is correct, yes.
And the fee has been paid?
Yes.
Okay. So it's simply combining that piece of land at the end of the cul-de-sac with parcel A, correct, Mr. Baptiste?
Yep. This little parcel, this little lot 84, which is the end of the Hillside Lane, to the remaining of the land, and then we'll decide what we're doing after that.
Okay. And Shane, based on your memo, we're good with this, correct?
That is correct. So yeah, just the combination of parcels here. It doesn't necessarily, we're not making the statement of anything on zoning, nor are we stating that parcel A or parcel B are buildable lots at this time.
And the only comment I had that I had written down, but that they did update it, I think this afternoon, was that parcel A did not have that not a buildable lot. So as long as that's on, I'm fine. with
Yeah,
it.
yeah, they'll be providing an updated Mylar and sheets of plans for your signature, Mr. Chair.
Are there any board questions or comments? If there's none, is there a motion to endorse the Form A plan
So moved.
by Mr. Geller?
Yep.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
So a motion to endorse, a second. Do we have any discussion? Any? No? Okay, Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mr. Geller,
Yes.
Ms. Pagano?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm a yes. All right, great, thank you.
Thank you.
We saw Eric Costa signed on, so for board members that don't know, Eric Costa just joined us. He's our newest associate member. If we don't have Mr. Haley, which I don't see yet, right?
No, I don't see Ted.
We can throw Eric right into the mix and have him participate in the 43R as long as he complies with the Mullen rule after this meeting, I would imagine. So,
Correct.
okay. Okay, so I'll open up item 3. Item 3 is 43 Central Square. This is map 34, lot 66, site plan review under section 10.6 and special permits under 6.1.4 and 9.6. This is to convert an existing manufacturing building into a mixed-use building with 6 units. This was continued from our December 18th meeting. And just to be clear, there are going to be different people sitting on this tonight than there have been in the past because Ms. Rojas and Mr. Haley are not present. So the 2 alternates, Ms. Pagano and Mr. Costa, will be participating. Are you ready to jump in, Eric? Or?
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And Mr. Silver, are you and your applicant okay with that?
Yeah, I believe that we're okay with that. That just means that they have to go back and review what took place prior.
Yeah, we confirmed Ms. Pagano was at the last meeting. She was participating as an alternate or just viewing as an alternate. And Mr. Costa will have to comply with the Mullen after this meeting, correct?
That's
Right,
correct.
and Mr. Costa did have the benefit of having been on site at the site walk.
He was at the site walk, correct?
We have no problem with that.
All right. So the public hearing is open, Mr. Silva. I'll turn it over to you for any updates on the proposal. If you'd like
Well,
to.
I mean, there was a submittal that was made to address previous comments. Those were submitted and I think they're referred to in your in Shane's summary that he gave to the board. So we were addressing some of the comments that were from the previous review. The site meeting, and I'll call it site meeting because it's a site walk. It didn't turn out to be an actual planning board meeting because you didn't have a quorum, correct?
Correct.
Right, okay, and at that point, as cold as it was, everyone had an opportunity, everyone that was there had an opportunity to see the site and to maybe get a little bit more understanding of what was being proposed. So the letter, as you see there, the December 10th letter, that was the one that was a comment response to issues that had been left open from before. And we showed how we addressed each one of those, and the plans were updated accordingly. So if you look on the revision dates on the plan in the blocks, they show a 12/10 date as well. It's always important to make sure that you're looking at the one that is the most recent one in order to make sure that you're seeing the changes that occurred. In that sidewalk, I did want to point out though that, you know, that right away, which was a lot of discussion about the 20-foot right away, the neighboring property at 43 had, I want to say that they had erected a temporary fence within the right of way with a dumpster in it, which is not allowed as part of the requirements on the right of way. But I just wanted to make sure that I mentioned that only because people saw it there And to think that it was by right to be there, I would suggest to you that it's not by right to be there, but it was there on that day. As far as where we stand on this point here, we basically have gone through everything in the past in terms of how the right-of-way functions. It was a 20-foot right-of-way. 10 feet were allocated to our site for maintenance, and 10 feet of it was allocated to number 43 Central for maintenance. Basically, it was just a way of wording it so that both parties understood that they had to maintain the right of way, and the way they did it was just basically split it down the middle. Sometimes it's not practical to actually do it that way, but that's the way it was actually worded when it was created by the owners of 39, which was the Masonic, I think that's 39, right? The Masonic Temple. That's the ones who originally granted that right away because it goes across their land. The issues that we had that were still on the table were a number of things related to a deficiency in open space that was less than the 20. The board had indicated that if it's less than the 20%, that it's going to kick us into the Board of Appeals as opposed to action by the planning board. We do have a way to be able to do that. We can discuss that later, but I know that you had members that actually attended after that date on that Monday, and they may have comments that based on their observations from that day. But as far as what's proposed for those that were not familiar with it, it's proposed to be commercial on the first level and to have 6 residential units above, 3 on each floor of the second and third floor. And the parking was to be both on-site and off-site. We originally proposed the off-site to be utilizing public parking on the square, but we are actually at this point here entering into an agreement to have spaces allocated on a neighboring site, which would be restricted for this location. And that agreement will be sent to the board for their review and approval once it's received.
What site is that?
Excuse me, ma'am. Thank you.
All
All right.
I'm not sure what that was. I mean, I don't know where you wanted me to go at this point, but with some tweaks of the site plan, we can meet the 20%, we believe, if that's the one hangup that we have in terms of being able to get to the finish line.
Well, Larry, just looking at this plan, the last meeting we talked about a couple things with parking. You know, it's a pretty intense use for that space, you know, the amount of units and the commercial space and lacking any frontage. So I guess my biggest concerns, you know, let's start with the parking. You know, the parking doesn't, you're still showing 17 required. It's actually 19 that are required if you do the math, and 11 are provided on site. So, you know, I'm just concerned with the number of units, with the number of bedrooms. You know, you're asking for a special permit for a parking reduction, and you don't even have enough parking for the base density, never mind the bonus density. So I just like to point that out as, you know, I personally believe like bonuses should be granted when a site has extra capacity, not when a site can't handle the base density.
Yeah, I understand that comment. Under an alternative.
Well, let me just finish my thoughts. So that's where I am with, you know, the parking is a real concern because there is no frontage. It is quite a walk to Central Square. You know, that is street parking. It's time, you know, the parking is a major concern. You know, we talked about last time, the drive aisle width is 18 feet, but the parking aisle width should be 24 feet. I believe it's still showing 18 feet on this plan here. The variance, you would need to get a variance for the open space and potentially that 24-foot drive aisle widths. The right of way, let me go to the right, I'll just give you my comments.
That's fine.
The right of way, Mr. Balsamo did provide us with 4 deeds, so 5 deeds. One of them I don't think pertain to the site. And they all reference, they all go back to an 1800s handwritten deeds that I like to read deeds, but I can't read those. So I think at the last meeting we talked about getting some sort of a legal opinion that what is being proposed is allowed within that right of way. You know, there's upgrades proposed, there's utilities proposed, there's a lot of digging, there's going to be resurfacing of that. You know, I just want to confirm that, you know, before we approve something here, there is adequate access and there's adequate utilities and those can all be provided through that right away. I don't see any of that in what I've read. It refers back to older deeds. It talks about Mr. Balsamo doesn't own any of that. He has rights to all 4 sections of it, it appears, but I just want to confirm that that is true. When we went out there, there is a dotted line down the middle. There was a dumpster in it. There's parking signs. There's a door that opens out into it. I just want to make sure that this doesn't come back to us in some, you know, fashion that is hurting other businesses or putting the board in a bad situation later on. I think that's important that we have assurance that everything that's being proposed is allowed. You know, and the units, again, the density back there is over what's allowed through the density bonus, you know, option. But again, there's not even enough for the base density. I just think it's just way too much back there for what the site can handle. And the architectural details, the last architectural details set we have is November 1st, I believe. And I think at the site walk, Mr. Balsamo said there's some changes with architectural windows and things of that nature. So, I mean, I'd like to see something done back there. I'd like to see a mixed use building, but I just think that with all the site constraints, you know, you can't meet the site standards and we're trying to max everything out, bedrooms, units, and it's the number of units and the you know, the size of the building and everything else that are creating all the site constraints, and I think it just needs to be cut back based on the site walk. So I don't know if you want to respond to any of those, or I can have other.
Well, I would like to, if Rebecca could put up there, we've gone over some of those issues and I can address some of them in an alternative
Well, let's stick to what we have, and then we can go to that.
All right. Well, this is to try to answer some of the questions that you.
Because the board hasn't seen this yet and it hasn't been reviewed, so let's stick with what you've submitted for now. And then you want to bring this up later, we can talk about this later.
Okay.
So,
Well, I think at that, then I guess maybe if you want to see whatever.
Let me have
members.
board members give you feedback based on the
Yeah.
site walk and stuff. Thank you.
so Mr. Chair, I guess I'll start. You know, the concern of the parking is also there, but I was not at the site walk, but I did go walk the site. You know, a few days later, I looked at the building, I looked at the site. And I'd be real curious if the applicant, I think one way to pick up parking in that area, would the applicant be, I mean, the building's old. I have a feeling he's gonna have to be adding a lot of structure to that building. What if he was to cut the first floor in the back, cut it back 20 feet and put parking underneath that building? You should be able to pick up probably 5 more parking spaces, maybe 6 underneath the building, and still keeping your green, your open space area by moving that to the fence.
So Mr. Kelly, you're saying, you're basically saying wipe out that laundry room and put put the laundry facilities in the units or something like that? Because you're not, that's all laundry and stuff back there anyway. It's not even commercial space.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would solve a problem of, parking. I mean, you can cantilever the building, you can put some columns in to carry the load and be able to go up 4. There's 2 stories. Does that make sense? What I'm requesting? Do we understand that, Larry?
I understand it, as my architect, Matt's here. Maybe Matt wants to address
It
that.
looks like there's a 5-foot grade change there though, so you're gonna have to do some walls too.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly something that can be explored and something obviously we would have to kind of go over with our structural engineer. From a design standpoint, yeah, we lose some of the potentially lose some of the back of that commercial space as well.
Matt, isn't that, just
No,
look,
I mean, then I believe in the back part on that. I don't have the plans in front of me right
it's
now.
more like laundry. I mean, couldn't that laundry be relocated into the units and stuff like that?
Well, yeah, it could. The units are kind of tight, but yeah, that's a possibility. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities with the design, and how it would work. It's just a matter of going over that also with Mr. Balsamo and seeing, there's some potentially added cost there and how that works for him. But yeah, I mean, I think design-wise, looking into different scenarios, sure, absolutely. And the answer to your question about the existing building is, yeah, there's structure. The way we're doing it structurally is the above floors are being supported directly down to the floor and not adding weight to the existing exterior load-bearing walls of the existing building, just so everyone's clear on that.
Yeah.
So yes, there is some structure that is coming through and carrying what's proposed the 2 stories above. So yeah, but I mean, yeah, that could be something that could be potentially done from a design standpoint.
I mean,
Whether it works
Can I
practically for
chime
Mr.
in?
Balsamo. I'm sorry?
I'd like to chime in.
Mr. Balsamo, go ahead.
Just because I've crunched all the numbers, and with the 6 units in the commercial, I'm right there. Adding $200,000 is not going to make this a feasible project at all. So I would resist that or it just wouldn't, I couldn't do that. It would not structurally, construction wise, that is definitely not feasible in my budget.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Geller, any more comments from the sidewalk, sir?
not at this time.
Okay, are there any other board comments?
I got one.
Go ahead, Mr. Cross.
I'm just more concerned about the businesses out front, about the parking. What tells you that once we have this building up, that no one's gonna park in front of the, say, juice mill and reserve all those parking spots? I mean, that business already is tough to park at, and they only have a minimal spaces. So if they lose that, then they're gonna lose pretty much their business, and that gives a take for all those front businesses right there. It's pretty concerning for me. I mean, is there like a plan that you can suggest that no one's, those parking spots are gonna be free?
Well, I think that's, and Eric, I know you weren't at the last meeting, but
Yeah,
I think that's, we have to consider a special permit to reduce their parking, right?
yeah,
And I think that we need some data or information that what they're providing is sufficient, right? So that, and if they can't do that, then I don't know how we can grant the special permit. So we have a request for a special permit, but really no backup as to how they're going to manage parking. Is it sufficient? What's the intended use of the first floor? I mean, we're looking at, the frustrating thing for me is we're looking at this and they're saying they need 19, but they only provide 11. Okay, well, tell me how that works, right? And I don't think anybody's told us that yet.
right.
What I'd like to tell you is that I have secured a lease for 10 spots off-site within the 500 feet. that would be allocated with my signage on there, dedicated for this building. That gives me a total of 19 spots, which meets the plan.
No, and Mr. Balsamo, that's great, but we don't have that in front of us.
I understand, but all I'm doing is shelling out money. I can't sign a lease until I at least get the proposal approved. How do I sign a lease not even knowing if you'll approve it? Or, that's my problem. I can get a letter of intent.
Yeah, I think we just need something showing that. I think the language that we need is it's a non-extinguishable or indefinite. I can't remember what but that would be good if you could provide us with what information you have on that. That'd be great.
And a letter of intent would suffice, and you can understand the reason behind that. I can't sign a lease.
Yeah, I mean, I think you need to provide us with information regarding what you have, and then we can go from there. I mean, we don't have, as far as I know, Mr. O'Brien, we don't have anything on that, correct?
Correct. And I just wanted to make a clarification, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
Because there's been some, I saw around on the internet that that there was some assumptions that residential parking would be located on Central Square or on Church Street. So that wouldn't be the case, and that's not what the applicant's asking for us. The applicant would be parking all residential parkings on their site or on spaces to be leased as stated. I think the only comment that I provided as part of this is that I would be more comfortable with the applicant providing all residential parking on their site, whereas having a little more flexibility. I've kind of provided this to the board in regarding to the commercial space of the site, as any commercial tenant of this spot would be utilizing the site similarly as any other commercial tenant would be on Central Square. Ideally, we wouldn't allow for residential parking in the 1 hour parking spots allocated for residents or any person using the commercial space. So I just wanted to make that a point of clarification.
And I agree, but I think we need to see that. I think certain commercial parking does have to be on site, like the handicapped, et cetera. So
No, I didn't say not ADA accessibility. I meant more just.
So that's good news, Mr. Balsamo. I think just provide us the information that you have.
All right, and on the right away, I do have an attorney writing something up. He's digging into deeds, and I will present that to Shane, I assume.
Correct, and he'll get that to us. Yes, sir.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, could I address the comment that what Mr. Coster had indicated?
Sure, go ahead, Mr. Silva.
Eric, the problem that we have here is that the businesses that are on Central Square, as you mentioned, the juice mill, and I've mentioned it in the past, that is a business that has gone in there, is doing very well, and it replaced a glass business that basically didn't have that kind of activity there. But they all rely on public parking. Juice mill relies on public parking along the common, just like the coffee place and the barber shop and everyone else that's on the common. They rely on those spaces, and the businesses that would be at 43R would be in the same situation, is that they would be relying on availability of parking on the common for some of it to go, because there basically isn't a municipal lot to service the west side of the common. There is a municipal lot on the east side of the common, but there isn't one on this side. So everyone has to utilize the spaces that are in that area. Now, Shane's comment about the having the residential parking on the site and then whatever commercial would be just like all the other businesses. I agree with that, and that would be what we would be striving to meet as far as the way it's designed.
And Mr. Silva, Mr. Balsamo, just make sure that, you know, that in the new zoning code, there are requirements for the offsite parking. It has to be within 500 feet. And that's one of them. And the other thing, it has to be an indefinite agreement. So it can't be a 1-year lease or a 2-year lease. It has to be in it. I believe it's worded as an indefinite agreement. So make sure that complies.
Mr. Silva,
Indefinite, that's a long time, isn't it?
Say that again.
Indefinite sounds like a real long time.
I don't know the exact wording. I don't know if that probably means it needs to be recorded or whatever, but just make sure you take a look at that. I don't have it in front of me.
I will.
Mr. Silva, to answer what you were saying, I understand about the businesses and, you know, they got to utilize all the parking that they can for the businesses. I just know that we're already having a problem over there for college parking, and it's kind of, you know, it's kind of taken away for the businesses to park. So, because the college kids are parking there, what makes you think that once, you know, they get this place all rented out or it's sold, whatever, you know, and they have friends over, college buddies, and they all park there? I mean, that's like my concern. You know, I mean, if they're there for business, they're there for business. But, you know, if you get a bunch of kids there parking, it's going to take away from all that parking for all those businesses that we all support. That's my concern.
I think that's a problem that's bigger than 43R Central. My first location, my business used to be located across the way there next to the gas station and where Fiesta is upstairs there. And that was an issue that we dealt with then, and that was 30 years ago. Okay,
We're
so
trying to, I feel like we're trying to resolve as much as we possibly can. So
Right.
us approving all this, we're just making we're making it worse than it really is. So I'm just trying to make it better. That's all, you know, I'm just
Yeah, I
figuring
understand.
out better situations that we can resolve from this happening.
But the goal of the zoning regulations was to promote having mixed use downtown. And this is the obstacles that you run into when you do that. And what you talk about in the student parking and so forth, those are all enforcement issues. And those are there much the same as any other enforcement issue. And that and working with the university, trying to get them not to have their students doing that has always been something that has been an active discussion over the years and different ways to do that. It's a problem, and it's
Yeah.
this project isn't changing that. It's not moving that needle. It's a problem that's there and looks like it's going to be there for a while. You know, unless they somehow have so much parking and immediate to all the school buildings there that it's not attractive to come up this way. You know what I mean?
Can I just piggyback on something Larry's making a good point of, and I just want to mention it, is I think the proposal of 43R, correct me if I'm wrong, it's providing the most parking of any property in the CBDS.
That I'm not sure of that. I mean,
Pretty close. I mean, I can't think of another building.
I mean, the bank next. I mean, there's a lot of properties in the CBDS that have plenty of parking. The CBDS goes all the way down Main Street.
Kind of, right? And then it turns into CBDR at some point. So around the square, though, I mean, just throwing it out there. I don't know.
But I think
properties that provide this much parking.
I'm not saying I'm against the reduction in parking, and I don't know what other members think. I just think that you're asking for the max of everything and providing the minimum on site, and not even the minimum, right? So I think I could say, you know, if this were 4 or 5 units and there are 1 and 2 bedrooms, and you know, then to me it's more palatable. I could say, all right, hey, you know, the 4 spots short, you know, make it work. But I mean, and I know we only require 1 spot per unit and one visitor for every 3, and that it doesn't differentiate between bedrooms, but when we're considering a special permit for a reduction, I think it does matter, right? So if you met the requirements, there's nothing we could say, but I'm looking at this saying, wow, you know, just like Eric said, you have 3-bedroom units, you're gonna have a family, you're gonna have a roommate situation, there's gonna be more than 1 car per unit. And then they're gonna have to find somewhere to park. They're gonna have to park off site. If I'm open to a reduction, I just think that if Mr. Balsamo is asking us to work with him, he's got to work with us on the mass and the intensity of the use here. And I think that, it's just, he's
Yeah,
asking for as many units as you can get, plus one, plus their 3 bedrooms. It's a lot there.
Mr. Chairman.
Creates a lot of traffic on
So
that
that
road.
can I be clear on something?
Sure.
Okay, so if we're saying now, and in this parking chart and the other one that you don't want me to show you right now, we have it corrected up to the 19. We've added the additional area from the first floor. But so if the required parking is 19, and we provide the 19 in combination of on-site and off-site deeded parking spaces within the distance that's required, isn't that we are complying with parking?
There's no need for a special permit, correct? But we're not talking about that right now. We don't have anything in front of us.
Well, I'm trying to show it to you, but you don't want me to show it.
Well, just
We don't even have, you don't even have an agreement that we can look at. I mean, what are we looking at? Are we looking at this plan you submitted, or we're looking at that plan? I don't know.
Well, we're looking at how we can address the comments that you've asked us to address. Okay, so one of the things that you said that was disqualifying at the last meeting was that if we don't have 20% open space, then we are forced to go to zoning board and that we can't have the action by the planning board.
Correct.
So this alternative plan, which I'm showing here now, meets that 20% open space. By doing so,
and it may, but nobody's seen this on the board, so.
no, but I'm not suggesting anybody act on it. I'm showing you for the purposes of the discussion as to how to get to where you want to be. And what I'm saying is this shows 9 parking spaces on site. That takes care of your residential loading. And then it has, as Mr. Balsamo said it, is that he will provide the agreement that shows that we have 10 deeded offsite, not deeded, but restricted offsite spaces to serve this property, which are within the distance that the bylaw requires. If we show that, then we have 19. We're not deficient. And if we have the 20% open space.
And if that's the case, I'd agree. You don't need a special permit, correct?
Okay, and that's what we're asking. We're not asking you to act on this plan.
Right, but this is
asking you to comment on it so that we can then submit it as a revision to what we have submitted in the past to address the comments that have been raised. That's all we're asking. And I do want to point out, because it was something that I had suggested before, for us to achieve the 20%, there was the comment about 18-foot aisles and 24-foot in the area of parking. And the way that we're achieving it is we have 18 feet of pavement. As you come around the back in the area that serves the parking spaces, the other 6 feet, which would constitute an effective 24-foot area outside the parking spaces, would be done with, I guess the term is really a turf block or whatever it is that basically it's underneath, the grass grows on it. You can drive on it. I've used it in the past. I've used them in at the college for fire trucks to get around the back of the apartments up on Great Hill. That it's a lawn, it's open space, but structurally you can back into it and it's not an issue. Okay, so by having 18 foot of pavement, having that 6-foot strip or 7-foot strip behind it and having the bollards closer to the building, we have still the 24-foot area to be able to back out of a parking space. That's the only real substantive change that we've made here that allows for us to get to that 20% mark. We took out a parking space in the front, and then we created this larger snow storage green area, because one of the comments at the last meeting was, well, if there's residents up there, where is the open space? Where are the kids going to go? Where, if there's a kid that's there? Well, this gives us an opportunity to have a little bit of a green area back there where the previous plan didn't have that. So I guess, and then we put bollards adjacent to the building to take away from the sand-filled Jersey barriers. And pretty much those are the changes that we're proposing here that I think are addressing the comments that were raised. And all what I'm asking is if we present this plan, but there may be other comments, But if, and we present this plan and provide you the right-of-way information you asked and the parking information that you asked in the agreement there, are we not getting to where we've addressed the issues that have been asked by the board for us to address?
I would say, yeah, I mean, you need to get to the parking requirement. If you can do that per the regulation, you don't need the special permit anymore. And if you can get to the open space, you don't need the variance anymore. The only thing I would ask is, Mr. Solari's the zoning enforcement, how would he interpret that 18-foot drive aisle width? I mean, that's really the only issue, but we can come back to that. Ms. Pagone?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did have a few concerns about the project itself. I feel like, and mind you, this is probably one of those few times where I actually am not really in support of a project. It seems like this may be a little more outsized for what the lot size can provide, the amount of work that's going to be done, the amount of residential units, spaces, the trying to get to the back spaces. Even looking at this plan, I appreciate that Mr. Silva did do some improvements on it, but let's just put it this way, on the parking aspect, it's very narrow getting from where the proposed bollard is at the 21.8 foot line where you see the corner of the building, right near the stall for the dumpster. Cars aren't getting any smaller. And that space is going to be, kind of tight maneuvering even for a mid-size SUV at this point. Larger trucks, like a pickup truck or a large SUV or even an ambulance, it's going to be hard to maneuver it through there. That's one concern. The other concern is the amount of snow storage area. Yes, there is an increase in that, but, it's kind of frustrating to see this much be on such a small parcel for a building that is, at least in my eyes, I've been back there a couple of times to drop off stuff or drop off friends, going to some of the businesses in town. And that building to me is more or less an oversized outbuilding. It has a garage stall on it right now. It's for lack of a better word, a small mechanic type shop. I get that they want to try to maximally utilize the property itself, but with what they're asking for in this project, with the amount of units that they want to put in and the type of usage that they're doing, I grant you there's a lot of stuff that needs to be changed, but right now, even with this plan, I certainly wouldn't support it because there's limitations in getting in, there's limitations in getting out, there's still the concern about the parking. And this is one of those times where I don't think you really could put a mixed use building in here because of the size of the lot. It's been a commercial building or an industrial manufacturing building for as long as it has been. And to have residential individuals or tenants in a building like this, in that small of an area, it's a safety risk. And it's a hazard for them. Even with snow removal, there's going to be, at some point, you could run out of places to put snow. What's going to happen to the people that are going to be parking close to the building? And that narrow pathway between the building itself and that little turn past the dumpster stall is going to be a choke point, especially in heavy snow. I mean, you could essentially trap all the people back there, getting them stuck and not being able to get out with all the snow in the building, in that parking area and in that right of way. The other thing is that it is, like I said, it's too big of a project for too small of a lot. And if this goes on, if this is something that we have to take care of tonight, I would certainly not be supportive of it. Unless, without other substantive changes, making a change maybe from being mixed use to just being a straight up commercial building or an industrial building, if it's possible, but I doubt it might be.
I believe it's zoned, they want commercial on the first floor and residential above. The parcel itself is enough space for 5 units without any questions. I am asking for the 6th unit, and the reason I'm asking for that is there are offsets, and one of them is solar, so I was planning on doing entire roof of solar. As far as snow storage, I have my own truck. I take care of the properties. I have other tenants in town that'll tell you that I'm there before any snow real piles up. And just like any other facility that would run out of space, that's my problem, and I'd have to truck it away. I can't remember snow being an issue since 2015, but I believe everybody had that issue in 2015, regardless of, even the big supermarkets had that problem in 2015. So I'm just asking for the same, just to vote on what's already written down in your rules. It's an eyesore of a building. I'm trying to improve the area. I have other properties in town. I'd love for you to talk to my tenants. I'm not, trying to squeeze every penny out of them. Maybe I might even ask them to join us next week, because I have a great relationship with my tenants. They do come first. And I bought the building, no idea what to do with it. I went to a meeting. They told me they want commercial on the first floor, residential above. I said, great, that's what I'll do. That's what the town wants. That's what I'll do. I had 8 units, I'll be honest with you. I had 2 1-bedrooms, 2 2-bedrooms, and 4 3-bedrooms. Mr. Driscoll told me he thought that was excessive. He thought 6 was the magic number. I said, fine, I'll do 6. I don't think I've given you the minimum. I think I've given everything I've been asked. And
I also think, Mr. Balsamo, that a lot of our comments aren't based on this plan and aren't based on the 10 spots you say you have. So, I mean, I think that needs to be provided, so.
yeah, and I'm just like,
I never said I was okay with 6 units. What I said was go find other parking, and you need 20% open space. I said that the day we met, so.
yeah, and you thought the magic number was 6.
I never said the magic number was 6. I said, I remember what I said. I said, I don't believe density bonus should be granted unless there's capacity on site, so.
I remember it different, but that's irrelevant. So like I said, I'm already good with the 5 units. I am asking for the bonus 1 extra unit. And as far as 3 bedrooms, I said it last meeting, I have a 3-family with 3 and 4 bedrooms. As soon as I post that it's an empty, I have 35 applicants. There's not enough 3 bedrooms. I'm not aiming towards college students. That's not what I'm aiming for. I'm aiming for, I'll be honest with you, single mom with a couple of kids. That's why I think 1 car is plenty. And if not, I do have additional spaces. That's what I'm shooting for. That's usually who replies to my posts.
Right, thank you. And like I said, this is the first time the board is seeing this plan, or the first time the board's hearing about 10 additional parking spaces. So, I mean, the comments before that didn't reference this plan, didn't reference off-street parking. Any other board questions before we open up for public comment?
So, I guess the question is this what they plan on going forward with?
We're prepared to go forward with this. If
Are
this
you gonna,
addresses the
are
issues.
you resubmitting? This is the plan that you want to go with?
We will revise the plans that you have before you to address the comments that have been raised, and this is what we believe addresses most of the substantive comments that have been raised. Now, MJ made some comment about that access coming in the 21-8. If I can show a photograph, I'll show you a photograph. There was a loading dock on the side of this building that was right where that 18-foot dimension shows. And that functioned there not only for loading and unloading, for dumpsters, for everything, for decades. I mean, is it ideal? No. But is it function? Yes.
So the only question I would have to Mr. Solari would be, Mr. Solari, is that 18 feet drive aisle width, does that comply? Does that not comply?
Well, it's going to have to, it has to meet what the requirements are the town with the town engineer, because I've never seen a parking lot that you drove over grass or dirt. This is the first one in all my years of being a contractor, developer, a builder. A parking lot is a parking lot. It's pavement, and it's all pavement because it has to have drainage. It has to run a certain way. I mean, is the parking lot I mean, does the plan show that it's pitched away from the grass? Is it pitched toward to the grass? Is it flat as it sits?
Pitched away, heading for the northwest corner.
Okay, so I mean, that's what I'm
the
saying.
green area up there.
What I'm looking, so it's heading to the green. So I mean, I don't see any of that. All I see is some green and the pavement. Like I said, the requirement for a parking lot is 18 feet for the spot and 24 feet. I myself have a pickup truck, and if I was in spot number 1, it would probably take me a half an hour to back out of that if somebody was in spot number 2, because of the not having even the whole 24 feet. Again, it's not going over grass subject or a stone subject. That would be approval of the either the planning board or the town engineer, as far as how he feels how the parking lot should be. But as long as the dimensions are there and meet the requirements, I guess that's what I have to go by. But again, I've never seen driving over grass with an automobile, because oil and gas and grass do not go together.
Okay. Why don't we, if there's no, go ahead, Mr. Silva.
I was actually just gonna add something. So, Mr. Silva, I'm assuming you're referring to an impervious pavement type situation, right? Where they're kind of blocks and they allow grass to come through.
Yes.
I'm just throwing it out that I've worked on many campuses. I've worked on a lot of commercial buildings in the past, and I've seen it used often, a lot. It's being used more and more often, actually, in parking lots on projects, for exactly that green sustainable reason. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that I've seen it, and I'm sure we could probably, Larry, I don't want to speak for you, but show some precedents of it being used. I know I have some.
Yeah, oh no, absolutely.
Yep.
Okay, let's go to public comment while we have, then we come back. So this is a public hearing and lots of public comment. So if you're a member of the public and you'd like to speak, please identify yourself, raise your hand.
I'd
Shane
like
will-
to speak.
Sure, ma'am, just state your name and address for the record, please.
Kelly McMorrow, 37 Central Square. So obviously I have a big stake in this, because I live in the big, tall brick D'Amelia building next to the Mason Lodge. And I do park out in back of the building that I live in. So I drive down the driveway that leads to the trophy shop and into the parking lot where we park. There's 5 units in our building, and we take up about 9 spots. I would like to know if this building that's being proposed, are these people going to park in that lot?
Definitely not.
Well, that's not the plan.
So-
That's the discussion we're having. They're providing parking on site and potentially off site, but they cannot park in your private lot, no.
I heard the gentleman say he leased 10 spots or something. So that's why I'm wondering if he's planning to take up some of the spots in the lot behind our building.
He'll have to provide us with that info. We don't have any of that yet.
Okay. I also just wanted to piggyback on what someone else said, a couple people. You know, when you have just enough spots, but no extra, you know what's going to happen. Somebody's going to have a birthday party and have all their family over. And where are they going to park? They're going to park in front of the juice mill and all that. This project sounds like a disaster. I just have to put that out there as a citizen. It doesn't even seem fair to the trophy shop. They're trying to run a business. It's just too congested back there. It's too, like the woman said, the committee woman, it's just too small of a place to cram a business and 6 apartments in. I really would like the board to really consider that this just seems like a big disaster. Way too big for the small space out there. I know, I live here. I see it every day. So I just put in my 2 cents.
Great, thank you.
All right, we have a Ashley Mallard with her hand raised.
Hi, yes, Ashley Mallard, 270 Grange Park. I am a teacher in town, and I have a major concern with the size of these apartments coming in. If the point is to attract families, I just don't think our community's in a position right now to be considering the extra apartment. And I'll say that as the person who's experiencing this every day in the schools. Additionally, as a parent, to suggest that like this half lawn meets the green space requirement, I don't want my kid running, across. I know exactly what you're talking about with the pavement that the grass comes through type of support blocks. That's not really what the intent of the language is behind when we talk about open space, right? And then on top of it, what if a kid is playing there? Like you're not creating a safe environment in that open space. I think my last thing I'll bring up is if we consistently have rules that are set, I would hope that some of these builders and groups, and I know they come before you to get variances, but I feel like if we want to change that downtown, and one of the members had reference to this, and start to move forward to change these issues such as parking and supporting the businesses that are successful, such as Juice Mill, I think we need to continue to stick to the rules that we've established. And that's those are my three concerns. I'll take the rest off. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have an Adam Hansen with his hand raised.
Hi, yes, good evening. This is Adam Hansen, 25 Swift Avenue. I think it's great that there's a lot of people looking to invest in our downtown. The traffic, the parking issues obviously were raised earlier, but that's not just unique to this project. What I'm hearing, it sounds like the requirements have been met. And if, we have issues with the minimum pieces of flair, so to speak, or requirements, not being enough, then I think the town needs to change the zoning and not necessarily hold hostage somebody who's looking to do the investment in downtown. So I support the initiative.
Thank you, Mr. Hansen.
All right, we have a Donna Jewell with her hand raised.
Hi, Donna Jewell, 50 Keith Place. I had the opportunity to attend the planning board site visit that was held, and I had concerns about this project prior to the site walk, but I have to say that I have double the concerns after going to the site walk. I completely agree with Ms. Pagone that this project is way oversized for the parcel that it's on. What hasn't been talked about tonight is safety in the right-of-way. That is my number one concern, that having vehicle traffic using the combination of 4 right-of-ways to access this remote parcel just seems extremely unsafe. When I was even exiting the site visit, I could exit, but if another vehicle had been coming in, they would not have been able to come in. If it was like a regular, F-350 pickup truck, something of that nature. My further concern is that if there's people from these apartments walking down the right-of-ways, that's another issue too. There's nowhere for them to go to get out of the way of incoming or outgoing traffic. There aren't any sidewalks. If this was a 6-lot subdivision of 3-bedroom houses, we would require sidewalks, we would require its own road. It's just too much. It's for this area. The right-of-way is not safe. It's barely functioning as it is now. And then you have a retail store there, Bridgewater Trophy. If you walk out of that door, that opens right into the right-of-way, and a car could be coming around the corner. That's ludicrous. It's so dangerous. I don't understand how that could really be allowed, where you have to combine 4 different right-of-ways to access a building and then to have 2-way traffic on it. The proposed parking, it sounds like they're working on resolving that. That would be good to see that gets resolved. But with guest parking and everything else and the burden it would put on businesses in the area needs to be considered too, in my opinion. And then I would also like to know, is this the place where maintenance of the 4 right-of-ways would be discussed and come to an agreement on? Because there would certainly be more, if this project went forward, there'd be a lot more wear and tear on those. So those are the comments that I have right now, but safety is my number 1 concern.
Yeah,
All
thank
right.
you.
Thank you. All right, I have Janet's iPad with her hand raised.
Hi, Janet Hanson, 665 Pleasant Street. Thank you. I agree with Donna Jewell that just spoke. You know, you're having residents, you really didn't even think about it, but they're going to be walking. And I have frequented Bridgewater Trophy, and I would like to see that business stay in business. We need it in town. He's been very good to town. But it's correct. If you put a sidewalk, then that's going to limit that space, you know, that right of way space of, you know, only one car would be able to go in and out at a time. There's not enough space there. And so I'd be concerned. And if the idea is to have a single mom with some kids, there is some concern. Yes, it's the parents' responsibility to watch the kids, but you don't have a sidewalk. And if you put a sidewalk, you're reducing the area. And I was concerned about parking. We have no idea where that parking is. I'm thinking where it would be, but he can't say right now. I guess that would come up at the next meeting, but it is kind of a big area, a big ask. And I am glad to hear that they would not be doing parking on the street, you know, intentionally, because that's what I had heard, and I wanted to hear for myself tonight. So off-street parking is what you should do, but that is an area of concern. And you know, fire truck going in there, ambulance going in there, the dumpster for emptying the dumpster. It just seems like a too big a project for that area. So I do have concerns, and hope those will be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have Mark Laptop.
Hi, this is Mark Peterson at 43 Church Street. I like the idea of things going in downtown, but it seems like a big project for such a small space. Should bring that up. And also worried about the stormwater coming off the backside. They say it's going to go through the northwest. I mean, that's really been raised back there by, I think, by all the property owners in that area. The grade has been raised. I just don't know where that water is going to go. So if the intention is to direct it towards my backyard, then I would like to know. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, we have Mark Lindy, District 2 Town Councilor with his hand raised.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to address you. I'd like to echo most of the comments that were made by Ashley Mallard, Kelly, Janet Hanson, and Donna. I think, and MJ, I believe this is too big of a project for downtown. I've had a number of the business owners approach me as the District 2 counselor in the downtown area that they don't feel comfortable with this. I think we have rules. I hate rules being changed and broken and not followed. So I would like to see this project scaled back and the concerns addressed. I certainly would like to know where the parking is and who the owner is. I guess we'll find out at the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lundy.
At this time, I don't see any virtual hands raised. If anyone would like to speak, you could send it in the chat.
Mr. O'Brien, I have a question.
So Mr. Rowley.
So,
Mr. Rowley, I'm running the meeting, not Mr. O'Brien. Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Driscoll, I have a question.
Go ahead.
So I heard Ms. Mallard, I believe, say that she accesses her parking coming through this site. is there any written agreement that gives them access to?
Mrs. Mallett didn't ask that question.
The person that was in Mr. D'Amelia's building indicated that they access their parking.
First name was Kelly.
Okay, again, my question is, and for clarification, they're accessing parking behind Mr. D'Amelia's building through this right of way. Is that correct?
Yes.
And is there, so my question, not to you, Kelly, is there some written agreement that allows that to happen?
You would have
I'm
to
not
ask.
asking you, Kelly.
Yeah,
I'm
oh,
asking, I'm putting it out there because I think it's an issue when we're having people talking about how much activity is in the right of way. And we're talking about some of that activity is actually being created by another parcel that doesn't have rights particularly to this right of way. That's my
Well,
question.
and I think that's why we need a legal opinion as to who has rights and who doesn't, just to confirm that. That's why.
That's all. I just want to have that on the record.
Thank you.
I'd like to respond to that. Shane has a copy of the deeds to that building.
I saw that, correct, and that's, you sent that, but like I said before, honestly, and I appreciate you getting those to us, but I don't know if you went through a couple of those and you refer back to those deeds, and one of them was Burrell. I mean, I can't read that stuff online. So and it talks about a cart path, and it doesn't talk about, it talks about passage. I just want to make sure that when I'm considering this project and you're proposing a substantial amount of work in the right of way and using that right of way for access, that you do in fact have all those rights that you're saying you have. I believe you.
Separate issue. I'll just clarify that
Yeah,
one.
yeah. I mean, just as our former town engineer used to say, trust but verify, right? So, and I think, as people are making comments, I think getting off-street parking is huge for this project. I mean, you don't, when we talk about what we can vote for and what we can't vote for, if you meet the parking requirements, we can't tell you need more. I mean, it's the requirement. So,
Right.
my one thing though is I do agree that it is going to be a lot of use of that right away. I do believe it is very big. I question whether I'd be in favor of the bonus unit. That's all. So
Fair enough.
I'd have to see the whole thing with the parking offsite and whatnot. So
Fair enough. And I just do want to address all the stormwater will be maintained on property. I know that was one of the neighbors' questions.
yeah, and I think, I'm not trying to be difficult. I think I was prepared, and I think a lot of board members were prepared, and the public was prepared by what they saw online. And these plans just surfaced tonight. So I think if that's the direction you want to go and you're parking off site, and you need to submit that and that information and the right of way information, and then we have to consider that. But right now, what we have before us is what Mr. Silva's showing. So
Fair.
anybody else from the public at this point?
I don't see any at this time, Mr. Chair.
So I think you got a lot of feedback tonight. I think that, right now it's a tough project. You proposed some updates and changes and additional parking. I think that'll be important to see. And again, I do agree that it is an intense use for that site, even with the off-site parking. And I think, again, I'll say it for the fifth time, bonus density should only be given when they're in the public good and there's extra capacity. That's why we give a bonus, right? But if it's minimum capacity, then we have to really consider that. So, any other board comments at this point?
I'd even go a little further than that, Mr. Driscoll. I can pretty confidently say I don't see any situation in which I would approve that bonus density. Just to be straight up with the applicant, I don't see myself doing that under any circumstance.
Well, let's see everything they submit, but I think he has an idea of the feedback tonight. So anything else, Mr. McDonald?
No, sir. I think you guys pretty much covered it all.
Any other board comments at this point?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Mr. Silver, Mr. Balsamo, do you have when is our next meeting, Mr. O'Brien?
We have a meeting on February 5th and a meeting on February 19th.
Are either of those school vacation week?
I have no idea.
The 19th is.
The 19th is.
So, Mr. Chair, through you to the applicant,
Sure.
I believe that I would ask for a continuance to either the 5th or the 19th is a school vacation week. I'm guessing Mr. Driscoll will not be available.
I won't be available. I think we should go. Why don't we move it to the 5th? If you guys need more time, you can ask for more time. Is that good, Mr. Balsamo?
Yes.
Well,
Go ahead, Mr. Silva.
my concern with that is, we submit, changes. And then the question is, are we gonna have adequate time for review of those changes? Because we can't have any new information more than 1 week before that meeting. So that puts us really
Yeah, the 29th.
29th, and here we are at the 15th.
I mean, the only issue I have is we've had so many people out of these meetings. I think I'd rather not have to log in, but if I do, I do. I don't know if you could wait till the first meeting in March or what.
I don't know, Jim, you can weigh in on that, but you could continue it to then to the
I'd say we
5th, but if
continue
it's
it-
not doable, we're gonna have to ask for it to be continued, and that will have to probably go to the March meeting.
Correct. I say we shoot for it, keeps me on track. It looks like you're not far off, and I'm pretty confident I can get the 2 requests, one for the right of way and one for the additional parking by then.
So why don't we move it to the 5th? If we need more time, you can ask for an extension, Mr. Silva.
Yeah, and if we have to, I guess what I'm hearing is, if we do need more time, then that would be to the first meeting in March, not to the one.
It's up to the board.
Well,
we can figure out board availability and who is here and everything else. And if somebody wants to run the meeting, I can log in. But I don't want to run the meeting.
I can
just
run it.
Okay,
yeah.
so we're talking about continuing, are we gonna motion to the?
We can talk about if Mr. Geller or Mr. McDonald are around and either of them want to run it, they can run it and I can sign in. I won't be in a place where I can run the meeting, that's all.
Shouldn't be an issue.
So if you just want to go to the 19th, do that then. As long as I know people are gonna be here and somebody can run the meeting and we're gonna have quorum, that's all. It is school
Well,
vacation.
I think that we go to the 5th, and if everything comes together, and we have
Alright.
everything to you by the 29th, then we can still have it on the 5th. That's all.
Okay, do we have a board motion to continue this to February 5th?
So
Motion to continue?
Say that again?
We got Steve did the motion.
Oh, Mr. Geller? Okay. There's a motion by Mr. Geller to go to February 5th. Do we have a second?
Second?
By Ms. Pagon. Any discussion? All those in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, we're not roll call, hold on.
Old habits.
Yeah, from 5 years ago, right? Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mr. Geller,
Yes.
Ms. Pagon,
Yes.
Mr. Costa? Mr. Costa, your first vote?
Yes.
And I'm a yes, thank you.
Okay, we'll see you on the 5th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, going item 4, we have a request for minor change of a subdivision plan pursuant to Bridgewater subdivision rules and regulations, B7. Bridgewater Preserve, Childbridge Farm 2 subdivision, request for changes to waivers to a sidewalk with no less than 4 feet. Unconstructed subdivision pursuant to section 5, required improvements B, improvement specifications 2, minimum width requirements in feet of the rules and regulations governing the subdivision land of the town of Bridgewater, that the width of the sidewalks be 5 feet. This was before us on December 18th, and it is continued to this evening. So just to update everybody, we did discuss it at the last meeting. We did have some members of the HOA on the call. Attorney Castanetti, who's involved in the development, did mark the site. I think a few of us, I went out today and looked at the markings. I think Mr. O'Brien provided some photos to those who couldn't go out and see it. Is Attorney Castanedi with us this evening?
I am.
Is there anything you'd like to add, Attorney Castanedi, at this point?
No, I think there was a question about the item on the plan marked number 9 that wasn't painted. And I just wanted to point out that area there's the sidewalk would be less than 4 feet if it was cut. So the curb, the reason it wasn't painted was because the curbing in that area has to be relocated. It has to be repositioned to achieve the 4 feet. So that's why that area wasn't painted.
So in that area, you're gonna move the curb, is that correct?
We have to move the curb 6 inches, correct?
And that won't affect the roadway width, is that correct?
It will by 6 inches.
But I'm saying the minimum, so it'll still meet our requirements?
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right. The other question, so I went out there today, the radius at Hickory and Magnolia, most of the stuff is painted in pink, but there were 5 dots that weren't connected that were about 6 or 8 inches in on the corner of Hickory. And is that supposed to be marked as being removed, or is that not supposed to be?
That's another area where that curb has to be relocated.
So that's why you didn't.
Those 2 areas.
It looks like it looks like he started to paint it and then stopped in that section there.
Exactly, because the curb the curb has to be relocated in order to achieve the 4-foot sidewalk there.
And then if you go down, I think that's Calthrop, and there's the radius there is going to be cut. That was marked. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct. That one achieves 4 feet just by being cut.
And then if you go down one more,
everywhere else.
If you go down one more where it intersects back with itself on Magnolia, that marking, because that marking changes from orange to pink again, so that radius is gonna be cut as well.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Is there anybody on from the HOA that would like to speak?
I think that this is Christine Banky. As
Just,
discussing,
we know who you are, but just for the record, state your address, please.
yeah, 36 Magnolia Way.
Thank you.
We are okay with all the plans that were laid out thus far. So obviously the idea is to become a public road. So the mitigations that were proposed so far sound good to us, with the effort of making sure that we do eventually become a public roadway. So we haven't heard any complaints from our neighbors thus far from the markings. So as long as there's a plan going forward for those other 2 spots, we're a go.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any board comments? Mr. Geller, you went out there, correct?
I did. So is there gonna be any type of, I guess warranty or anything that'll be extended after all this job is done, all this cutting, the sidewalk's gonna be?
Oh, we still have a pretty sizable bond on the site, right? Correct, Mr. O'Brien?
Yeah, I can confirm the amount right now. I'll look it up.
So, I mean, we could say, it has to weather a season or something after the repairs before, and we could hold a portion of that bond, I guess. We could discuss that. And we're gonna have to have a discussion about bond release at some point anyway, so we can discuss it. We can discuss it then.
Okay.
Mr. Tanzi, you're the representative of DPW that would potentially be accepting the street. Are you comfortable with the proposal and the changes?
I am. I think it's the best solution to the situation.
Okay, so you don't have any objections to anything that Mr. Attorney Castanetti has stated in regards to moving the curb, or?
No, I think we're gonna have to do what we have to do in those 2 situations, those 2 locations.
Just to additionally confirm, we're holding over $100,000.
Okay. Great. All right. So this is before us as a we have to determine if it's a major or minor modification, correct, Mr. O'Brien?
It's a request, essentially the same process that we would have through site plan review determinations. However, this is not based in zoning ordinance, it's based in our subdivision rules and regulations per B7. So it is,
I'm comfortable with it being a minor. I mean, the HOA was notified and participated in this, so. Mrs. Beckney, were all the residents notified of this somehow? Just so we make sure people know what's going on.
Sorry, yes, this is Christine Banky again. Yes, they were all notified by email, and there are maybe 2 people that are not on our email list. And we did just send yearly updates and notifications as well.
Okay, great.
But everybody who it would directly impact has been notified.
Right. So Mr. O'Brien, the only difference between a major and a minor modification would be notification, but that's probably not necessary, correct?
yeah, that's correct. Based on kind of my review of this really kind of constitutes one of the minor changes as featured in our subdivision rules and regulations. It's essentially stating instead of the sidewalks being 5 feet, that they're requesting the waivers to be no less than 4 feet. So a difference of 12 inches.
The subdivision's already approved, so this would be that we'd vote on this as a modification, correct?
That would be, it's a minor modification, yes.
All right, so we should, the way we should do it is determine it to be a minor modification, then vote on that, correct?
I guess you could, if you wanted to determine it as a minor modification and then accept the waiver for the previously approved subdivision. I think that could be proper verbiage.
Okay. All right, so do we have, if there are no more board comments or HOA comments or resident comments? I don't see any, is that correct, Shane?
I don't see any hands raised. I would think the only comment I could probably make on this is I don't believe Eric can vote on this one, because this one started at the November meeting. So
Right,
it would
and
be-
we just need simple majority for this anyway. So.
that is correct, yes.
All right, so do we have a motion to accept this as a minor modification?
So moved.
By Mr. McDonald, do we have a second?
Second.
By Mr. Geller? Okay, so I'll take the roll. Ms. Pagone,
Yes.
Mr. Geller,
Yes.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Okay. And then do we now have a motion? So Shane, do I have to, these are all waivers, right?
Essentially, it's one waiver.
So-
It's
so-
accepting, it's essentially kind of melding this one waiver into the previously approved subdivision.
And that one waiver that we're voting on is in certain areas to have the sidewalk be no less than 4 feet, correct?
Yeah, I would say that the plan that was provided to us notes where those changes would occur, as well as just kind of accept it. And accept kind of the waiver based on the previously approved subdivision
All
plan.
right, so do we have a motion to accept the waiver to allow no less than 4 feet of constructed sidewalk in the areas that are shown in the submitted plan?
So moved.
Was that Mr. McDonald?
That is
Yes, sir.
correct.
Second by Ms. Pagone?
Yep.
Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, I'll take the roll. Ms. Pagone,
Yes.
Mr. Geller,
Yes.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. So, thank you, Mrs. Beckney and Attorney Castanetti. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your consideration. Appreciate it. Have a
Thank
good
you
night.
so much. Have a good night.
Thank you. All right, item 5, planning board minutes, September 18th, 2024. Shane, I didn't see those. Did we get those in the packet?
No, I'm still working on them. If anyone needs them, I have them in a draft format, but just not in a format that I felt comfortable sending over to the board. So I'll have a batch of minutes ready for the next meeting. But I'll push it off for February 5th. I'll have a batch for you guys.
All right, next meeting is February 5th, correct?
That's correct.
Is there anything other than this meeting that'll be postponed? Is there anything else on it for that evening?
I don't have any new items at this time that would require a public hearing. I'll keep you guys posted. I would have to throw an ad in the paper by Friday, but I haven't gotten anything that's gonna require a public hearing at this time. So, it just looks like, 43 Rear Central Square, as public hearings for the next meeting.
All right, and Mr. Rulli looks like he signed off, but I was gonna go to you and Mr. Rulli about, there's a meeting Thursday night, tomorrow night, is that
That's
correct?
correct. There's the second part 2 of the, Central Square, transportation study, that we've been working on. So if anyone's available, there's ability to kind of give us an idea of how many people will be coming through the Eventbrite. But that is tomorrow. I believe it's at the Moakley Center, but let me just confirm. But yeah, that is tomorrow. Central Square. Pathways to Central Square. So Jeff Speck will, I believe, be speaking again. Moakley Center, 100 Borough Ave, Bridgewater. So check out.
And that's tomorrow evening at what time, Shane?
That would be at, I believe, 7 o'clock, 7 to 8:30. I believe BCTV will be there to record. So if you're unable to make it, I believe will be placed on our YouTube channel.
Okay, do you have anything else other than that, Shane?
I have Ray Jemian interested in speaking at the next meeting regarding updates with the tree committee. I need either MJ or Michael to come in, or Ted, or Astrid to come in, to sign the, actually, I'm sorry, not MJ. I need one more signature for the lot release from Wampanoag Estates for lot 2. And then I'll be all good. February 19th, we're going to have a joint meeting with the CED committee regarding ADUs. So that item will be placed, that zoning amendment will be on for February 19th. So that being that the regulations kind of go in around February, we're kind of comfortable with the regulations that we have right now. Steve and I have discussed this. If anyone's looking to produce an ADU, they would probably have to meet the current standards that we have with the zoning ordinance that's before council at this time. So it's been referred to us, and we're going to hold that meeting with CED on the 19th.
Okay.
So I think that's it. I don't think I have anything else too pressing. Do you have anything, Pat, regarding community preservation?
No, I think we have a meeting next Wednesday night. No. All right, so anybody else have any board members, any comments, really? Mr. Solari, Mr. Tanzi? No?
Hey, what time are you in the office till tomorrow? See if I can stop by after work.
We're there till 4.
Might be tricky, but I'll get down there.
If not Friday or whatever, I talked to.
Shane, is there a mail, just for the convenience of is there a mailbox that we could leave it in to get people in to get that signed for the applicant?
No, we have a Dropbox, but that's more for election and billing purposes. So I know it's not completely convenient. But if you just give me an idea, I know the work week's tough, but yeah, it's just one signature. I talked to Jeff Cutter. Is no rush. So if it doesn't work out this week, next week's possible as well too. Just let me know availability, and I can assist as best as I can.
After 2 more meetings, it'll be real easy because we'll be meeting in person.
Yeah, I can have you guys all sign it. So we're still figuring that out. I assure you that, if we're meeting in person, I'll try to make it the best experience.
Yeah, so I mean, March 1st, unless the governor extends it, we're going back in person, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, all right. All right, is there any other board comment? No? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Is Eric still with us, or did he quit?
He ran off. He didn't know. It's all right. It's on the record. He'll rewatch this. We'll teach him. Well, we got to teach him the ins and outs.
All right, so a motion to adjourn by Ms. Pagano, is that correct?
Yes.
Do a second?
Second.
Mr. Geller? Any discussion? Mr. Geller?
Yep.
Ms. Pagano?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
And me, yes. Good night, everyone.
8 o'clock on the dot. Take care.
Night, everyone.